Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Italy finally delivered a unicorn, 997 million to Scalapay from Tencent, Tiger Global, and a number of US investors.
Yeah, everybody has been waiting for this piece of news for quite some time now. So it was due, let's say so. So very good that finally we have our unicorn of current times, at least. It's been probably 20 years since the last time we had a unicorn in Italy.
Wow. Awesome. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's get going. I mean, what I want to share is really like what has been happening with Scalapay. I think it's a very interesting operation. So the round was led by Tencent and Willoughby Capital, essentially, with the massive help of Tiger Global, always there lurking and trying to support the European ecosystem. So I was doing a little bit of research on what these guys have been doing, given that they intervene also in Satispay, in a bunch of different deals. So yeah, they've been moving hard and fast. Some people would claim that compared to 2021, they're slowing down the pace, but still some of the big players out there. And again, I mean, these people have, I think right now about something like 16 funds or something like that on a roll. It's massive. It's pretty massive, starting 2011. And they're going hard for sure.
Yeah, and deploying capital quite fast. Yes, there was some news that they were slowing down because of the market, for example. So the public markets getting a bit of turmoil in the last few weeks.
Yep.
But they're still out there investing. So good to know.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm more fascinated by Tiger because really they're backed by some of the big institutions. Insurance company, foundations, and big investment banks. What is interesting is that if you see it by round, they're really focusing from A to C massively, including certain Series D deal. So they're really supporting sort of the mid-range venture rounds that are post Series A. So this is some data from Deal Room. And the top is Series B and then Series C as the kind of number of deals they're making. SaaS and FinTech for the majority. And of course, US based mostly, India, China, and then the rest of the world essentially. So that's pretty cool.
They are going after the biggest markets in the fastest and biggest verticals at the most interesting grounds for an investor, let's say so.
And again, the notable investments are outstanding from Stripe or BNB, Uber, Coinbase, really putting their hands on a bunch of different top-notch kind of deals. So that's interesting. I was also checking Willoughby Capital, which I didn't know before. They're based, I believe, in New York, and also they have been placing very interesting bets on the e-commerce space, such as Bolt, which essentially does frictionless checkout experiences. But they're also working on other kind of deals like a Zoo, for example, the post IPO. And it's a nice portfolio as well, late stage tendenциally Series C and D and post IPO, but probably the Scalapay one is the earliest one they've made, but again it's very, very interesting. Yeah, so 497 million.
Yeah,
let it sink.
That's basically almost all the capital that was raised by Italian startups in 2020. Almost half of 2021. And based on my track, we already raised in Italy as much capital as the entire 2020.
Yeah, Nick, your tracker is totally biased now. You're done. This thing is totally worthless. Look at this.
Yeah. I can just give up doing it and just say, well,
just give up, man. No, it's very interesting because with this deal, really, it's a huge bump and it really sets the tone, I hope, for the rest of the year. Unless, of course, the thing is going to follow the trend and maybe progress like parallel to the previous year. But definitely, this is a huge bump for this year for sure. So that's
we can
awesome.
play a little bit of a what if game, no? Scenario analysis game. So what other companies we have in Italy that are mature enough to raise 100 million plus round? That's probably Scalapay again in fintech.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Not so many.
Yeah,
jump to mind.
I
Maybe.
have a hard time.
Maybe Corti.
Yeah.
But I'm biased. Just picking up loud, but nothing on.
Awesome.
We should check. We should take a look at the portfolios of Italian investors and see whether there's some kind of other unicorn in brewing or in preparation, or at least someone that might raise 100 million plus round this year. I bet somebody is there. That's
super interesting.
Not so many.
Super
Still.
interesting. All right, moving on a different ground and different levels of investments. 5 million raised by jointly welfare startup from both Gellify and Azimut Digital Fund. Again, Azimut, huge and quick player, and we talk about them like pretty much every other week. Jointly, I didn't know the company. I don't know. I was researching exactly like what's the deal with this company and all the welfare, but they're basically playing on a very strong assumption, which is the average age of Italians, I think, is more than 45, and 1 in 4 is either a retired like elderly person or it's getting there. So it's impressive how digitalization of welfare is actually touching a really, really real problem and real situation. So that was fascinating, actually.
Yeah, if you think about it, it is an interesting play. It's a welfare as a service platform. So instead of big enterprises, they make their own welfare decisions. But all the mid market, and in Italy we have a lot of companies in the mid market. They don't have such a complex HR structure to set up complex welfare plans. So there are several welfare as a service players out there. This is one. It makes total sense because it's a classic marketplace disintermediation play.
Yeah, but useful. They provide services for like childcare up to elderly care for people. So if your company subscribe to this service, really opens up a lot of very, very interesting ways to provide for the family, actually. So it's an awesome platform. Totally interesting. All right.
And the additional people that they raised money and then they invested, acquired. That's I'm not sure about the end result. Badacare. That's another startup offering caring services for the elderly and stuff like that. So a classic. Services,
integrating services and building up basically the portfolio of services. Awesome, fantastic. All right, let's move on. Wallife, insurtech company, raising 4.8 million from a syndicate of business angel. I'm not too sure exactly how exactly the business run. It's not too clear to me. I understand it's an insurtech play, especially working on the future of sort of risk, like different sorts of areas, I would say. Now, I don't want to be non-precise, but yeah, they're playing.
I was quite curious about what they are doing. So they're going after some kind of insurance product in verticals that are usually or currently not covered by any insurance products. So if I look at the website, insurance coming, they have biometrics, so a product that will help the customer when their accounts are hacked. So they pure cybersecurity, let's say so.
Yeah, genetic also, like preservation of biological material for whatever application. So it's very unique. What is interesting is that in this round you have like big names in terms of like sort of super angels, I would say. So like Neriel Alessandre from Technogym, his old investment holding is basically part of this round. And you have other big players into the finance space, so I thought it was particularly relevant.
And this is something quite futuristic, but I would keep an eye on something like this because awesome. Interesting.
All right, moving on. Vitesy. Very interesting play. We know the guys from Vitesy from before they actually raised this round. We kind of following all the founders, and we've seen them like kind of selling their plans and their devices, and I mean they're really well prepared. They managed to raise 2.6 million to actually roll out a flower pot for indoor air purification. So they have this filter, this new technology. They match it with plants, and they do this very sort of tech / IoT / design hardware play. So it's particularly interesting because they've been very successful in fundraising. So I'm very pleased.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say that I am a customer actually. So I've got one of the Vitesys, the Natid vases. I've got one of them because IoT analytics house I couldn't resist.
Of course, that's your toy. That's exactly the toy.
Of course. Now in my house I have so many IoT devices that I have got too many apps to check the temperature, and they all disagree.
You don't have a house. You have a data point warehouse. That's what you have.
Yes, but the only thing that I know is that different IoT devices
that's so funny.
Readings of the temperature and humidity. So that's kind of, I don't know. Is it even the same place? But I don't know. Anyhow, they raised from Doorway last year, so a year ago. So CDP Venture Capital joined now, and they doubled down on the investment. So a matching funding.
Correct.
In this case.
Yeah.
And still, I believe the company has just launched another device for air purification. Yeah. Quite recently. So good luck to them with the new product.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right, moving on. Let's talk about rocket sharing going public. So what caught my eye really about this news is that there are a series of tech companies going public, and their valuation is, I would say, on the small side without being offensive. It's just that I believe it's the valuation of rocket sharing company is about, it has a market cap of 9.1 million. And it's going public basically on the Euronext Growth in Milan, so here in Italy, and it's basically a cashback application which is based on blockchain and provides rewards of different sort given any shopping experience essentially. So it's not the first time we see I don't know. I feel like there's smaller company on the smaller side. I'm trying here to be delicate. I don't want to be offensive, but IPOs seems to becoming more accessible in a way.
Well, Euronext Growth Milano has been investing heavily in becoming a platform where companies can easily access the markets. And the proof was last year that they had a record year in terms of number of IPOs. In this case, with you, in addition to the mouthful of the things in the description of the company in this very specific case, I mean, cashback, blockchain, marketplace, it's like okay.
It's a lot. It's a lot to digest.
Yes, yes, it is. Still, it is quite a quick operation because I believe the company is no more than 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
I believe so.
Wow.
It's very not. I'm probably might be wrong, but I've got this memory. Anyhow, this is the result of, for sure, the next growth being lowering the bar, the difficulty bar, at least, to access the markets. So good in terms of generating liquidity, better because if you think about it, this is a natural continuation of the equity crowdfunding trend. So this is a way for these smallish companies, let's say, to generate liquidity without having to reach the big numbers in terms of valuation, revenues, growth.
I see.
So we'll see more of these probably. But when you lower the bar in this way, you of course allow a lot of companies operating in a lot of areas.
Interesting way to put it, which makes sense actually. It's a way to make the step number, like the crowdfunding 2.0, a little bit regulated, more sort of compliance driven, but still like accessible. So that definitely makes sense. Super interesting. All right, moving on.
The fund is specialized in cybersecurity, robotics, stuff like that. So it's actually the fund is actually a good pedigree because it comes out from Chilometro Rosso, from a strong entrepreneurial area. Yeah. So I believe they are in a good position for investing in these type of technologies. I believe they made they announced one investment already. The fund was launched last year.
I think we talked about that in probably like some other episode because Cysero, it's something that always caught my eye. I think they're deploying. What I really like is the kind of the structure of the mother company. So essentially they have different funds covering like different themes, and they've been active in a lot of different themes, both especially sort of impact driven, but also now robotic and cybersecurity driven. So
I just saw a thing that caught my eye. The management company, VM Gestioni, is a benefit company. So it's a SGR, so a company managing capital, and it's also a benefit company. That's extremely interesting.
Yeah, what is the implication for an investment SGR company to be benefit? Like I don't.
That's a very good question because it is beyond ESG. And you set
maybe
up,
it's related with the thesis.
Specific set of rules when you are a benefit corporation. So that's more more clear cut than just saying we invest in ESG products. Being a benefit corporation is a bit higher level, I believe, but I'm no expert in this case. And an investment company being a benefit corporation, that's I don't know.
It's a new way. It's a new way of thinking, which is actually extremely positive. Also, it's a great signal for investors for sure. Like a more stringent regulation on a certain side and a commitment to actually following a certain thesis and a certain ethics of work, which is very powerful actually. All right. Moving on, IFI completed one of their early research on the venture capital ecosystem, so they could try to collect some data on what is happening in the venture capital industry. It's called the Venture Capital Monitor, and that's for Italy 2021. So basically, they collect all data for last year, And I think, that would require more time to comment. The big takeaway is that everything looks pretty positive and things are growing in general, both in the... That's my takeaway, Nico. It's poor, it's simple, but yeah, we're happy. I mean, things are moving both from the fund side to the deployment to actually corporate VC, which actually, I like to keep an eye on corporate VCs, also like improved very much compared to 2020 because a lot of deals were actually backed by corporations, and the percentage is growing year over year. So that's my take.
My only comment on this report that this takeaway is public. Just following the links from the newsletter, you can download the presentation. The only takeaway is that every year in Italy there are at least 3 different reports published about fundraising. One from Politecnico of Milano, one from Venture Capital Monitor, one from EY, and they all have different numbers. That's very interesting. But the point is that each of these reports use different approaches in collecting the numbers. So one excludes crowdfunding, the other includes crowdfunding. One excludes, foreign companies run by Italians. The other one includes them. Venn, for example, has the broadest approach to what is Italian and what it isn't. It's like a difference between gross domestic product and gross national product.
Yeah.
So Venn is basically related to gross national product. If there is an Italian founder somewhere operating abroad, that's the report. So this is more related to the value that Italians are raising in the world, just in Italy, which is an interesting metric because given that these reports say the amount from just the Italian companies. So that's another interesting development.
Awesome point. Very, very cool. And we don't have an aggregate report that kind of reconciliate or consolidate data. It's just we need to know these things. Different assumption bringing different results, but yeah, hopefully in the same line. But
a report to
exactly a meta report. Awesome.
the lot of reports. This was nerdy.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Ending on an ending note, people scolding venture capitalists in Italy. So apparently we have a researcher from Politecnico di Milano that we are not investing apparently enough in climate change startups. So between 2015 and 2020, only 13 companies received investments. And for a total of actually companies working on this kind of problem of 1,195. So I don't agree with this report, with this article at all, because you have a few different things you can argue against. Number one, maybe Italy is not specializing enough in climate change tech, and there are other ecosystems we actually provide better value of investment, number one. And number two, I believe that 13 companies out of 1,195 is actually a good percentage, all things considered, considering that venture capital firm they invest in 1 to 2% of all the deals they see roughly. So I don't know. I don't feel this is a fair it's a fair scolding.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, and I like the second point is that this is actually the 1%. So it makes sense, and I would add that you don't like. So this is something that will require a bit of time in order to create teams, to raise capital in order to invest in climate change, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's not just a matter of, hey, you know what? Let's invest in climate change. You need to go out and convince LPs to invest in your fund who will invest in climate change. And climate change is not yet a clear-cut financial thesis in order to raise capital. So you need to have on the other side of the table investors who really understand the opportunity, the possibility, and they're willing to invest in that area. That's probably today. You probably find a lot of people that are willing to listen to you on this vertical. In 2016, I'm not so sure. But
good point.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, with that, we are at the end of our run through the news. Nick, thank you very much for joining. So for the listener, these sections are based on Niccolò newsletter, and we kind of do a little deep dive on Mondays, and all the session will be available on Spotify and YouTube and other podcasting platform. So join us again. Thank you, Nico, and I see you next week.
Thank you, Jack. See you next week.
Bye-bye.